It's time for Downtown Hockeytown, presented by Labatt Blue Light. Today's guest is MLive's Ansar Khan. How's it going, Ansar? Good to see you.
Good. How you doing, Carley? Art?
Very good.
Ansar?
Very good. Very official, guys.
That was a nice exchange of pleasantries there. We all know each other, in case you didn't know.
Familiar faces from the Red Wings side. We'll have to do for now. Right out the gate, let's start and talk about the article you recently put out where you projected lineups for the Red Wings next season. The first offensive line is an obvious one you had with Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Mantha. Can't argue with you there. But onto the second line, which looks pretty different. You have Fabry, Nemestikov, and Robbie Ryan. And actually on Tuesday's show, when I asked Ken Kale who he thought would benefit most from the new player additions, he said Robbie Fabry, also putting him on that line with Nemestikov and Ryan. Why would this line work so well? And do you agree with Ken's answer?
Yeah, I think the main thing here is, unlike last year, Jeff Blashill has more options, especially in his top six. Adding Nemestikov and Bobby Ryan gives them more skilled players that they can use in that top six. And I think that allows them to use the top line, Larkin, Mantha, and Bertuzzi more often. The last couple of years he's used it at times, but because they didn't really have a decent second line, he had to kind of split them up and kind of spread the wealth a little bit. But I think this season he'll be able to use that top line together more often, and as we've seen during stretches, especially late in each of the past two seasons, they've been really dominant together. And I think that second line, getting Bobby Ryan with that right-handed shot, which was important to get a righty there in the top six. Nemestikov, he's a guy that, they needed a second line center. They used Fabry there late in the season. He did okay there. Filppula's more, they had to use Filppula, but he's more of at this stage of his career, is more of a bottom six forward. Nemestikov gives him that second line center option, and he's also versatile. He can play any of the three forward positions. And, and then obviously Robbie Fabry there also, who established himself last year, kind of resurrected his career and established himself as a top six forward in the NHL.
Ansar, before I ask you about your third line, which was interesting, I want to ask you about Robbie Fabry at center. It seems Steve has mentioned it. I know that, Blash has also mentioned it. He played it. Do you think that's viable, or do you think eventually Fabry's going to be on the wing?
My guess is he'll be on the wing. I think, from what I recall, when we talked to him a couple months ago after he signed his contract, he said that center was his natural position growing up, and that only until he got to the NHL did he move to the wing. So he feels comfortable at center. But I just get the feeling, for no other reason, I just think he'll be a wing with the Wings, especially now that they've got Nemestikov here for at least the next couple of seasons. I think Fabry, that's where he had his most success last year, playing on the wing. And even though he played well at center too late in the year, but I see him mostly as a wing.
When you look at your third line, and this is interesting, you've got Svechnikov, Sam Gagner, and Filip Zadina. Svechnikov, this is the make or break year for him. I mean, he would have to clear waivers. I'm convinced that Carolina would take him. I'm sure that his brother would almost insist that they grab him off the waiver wire if somebody else doesn't take them first. But very interesting third pairing there, Ansar.
Yeah. I think Andre would insist on Carolina taking him, but I don't think he'll ever get to waivers. I think with Svechnikov, I think the two options are, you're either going to play on the wings and make this team, or if it doesn't work out, that they'll eventually package him in a trade. I don't think they would waive him and lose him for nothing. I think they would want to get something for him, but definitely what you said, it is a make or break year for him. A couple years ago, missing the entire season. That was a big blow with that torn ACL in the preseason game. And then last year, naturally, coming back from an injury like that, it's going to take time. Started out slowly, but he did play better towards the middle of the year with the Griffins. I think that the big thing is this year with him is that he knows he's going to get the opportunity. He knows he doesn't have to worry about being sent back down. He knows he doesn't have to make a big impression in just a couple of games. He's going to get an extended look, and that's why I've got him on the third line. You can't play him. He's not a fourth line player. I mean, you got to surround him with at least some skill. And I think starting out on kind of a third line, letting him get his feet wet there, and then if he plays well enough, maybe he can advance to kind of what you'd consider their second line. But it definitely is a make or break year for him, and I think they're going to give him every opportunity to succeed because he's the 20th overall pick in 2015. They need to find out what they have in him. They don't know right now what is he, what kind of player is he, and they need to find out. And the only way they can do that is by giving him an extended look.
Right. You never know until you try. I hope we see him in a next quarter. All right. And then looking to the blue line, first pairing you had was Danny DeKeyser and Philip Hronek. Don't think anyone would argue with you again on that. Excited to see DK back out on the ice after that back surgery. And a second pairing looking like new Red Wing Mark Stahl and Patrick Nemec. And then on the third line, a pair of free agents that you paired up, John Merrill and Troy Stetcher. What was the thought process behind matching these guys up?
Well, it's starting with the first pairing, obviously DeKeyser coming back. He only played 8 games last year, and you almost kind of forget about him a little bit. But he has been, he's one of the longest serving Red Wings. He's a guy that logs a lot of minutes. Plays against other teams' top lines, so he's certainly natural for the top pairing, and he'll probably lead the team. I'm sure he'll lead the team in minutes played. Hronek, a guy that was probably given too much last year simply because they had so many injuries on defense that they had to overplay him. I think he averaged more than 23 minutes a game in his first full NHL season. Which is a little bit too much for him. But I think pairing him, he's a little bit more offensive-minded. He's struggled at times defensively, but he's learning. And pairing him with DeKeyser kind of gives you that safety net, kind of gives you a more of a safe guy, defensive guy in DeKeyser, and a more risk-taking, rushing guy in Hronek. And both of those guys will log more than 20 minutes a game, big minute guys. And then the second pairing, two defensive-minded guys, veterans, Stahl and Nemeth, guys that you can trust out there. I think Blashill can trust to put that pairing out there against other teams' top lines. They've got a lot of experience. And then with the third pairing, new guys, Merrill and Stetcher. If that's the way he pairs them up, that'll be interesting.
Looking forward to it. All right, well, we need to wrap things up. But one last thing, you put out an article of the jersey ratings, the reverse retro jerseys, with the Detroit Red Wings sitting at number 28. What would you have done differently? Have to ask.
I think the main criticism that the Red Wings are getting from that jersey is it's kind of plain, but in their defense, like a lot of people have been saying, there's not what could you do differently, because it's a jersey that it hasn't changed much over the past however many years, and even their alternate jersey, with the exception of that one that had Detroit across the front, I think in the early 90s, and then there's that one that had the old-fashioned, that huge D. they haven't altered it. They haven't needed to. There's no need to alter it. So, as far as what they could have done differently, I think I might have done. Certainly, I wouldn't have changed the logo. They could have gone with an old-fashioned logo, which they've done, I think, before in Winter Classic. Would have kept that logo, but I would have done something differently with the sleeves and the trim. I mean, just plain white, and then you've got the gray bars that around the wrist area. I think that's what probably gives it a more plain look. I would have done maybe something different with the trim. I see a lot of the other teams did do a lot of alterations with their sleeves.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes if it's not broken, don't fix it. As I stumble over that saying, Ansar. Thank you so much for joining Art and I. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up.
Thanks glad to be with you guys.
Yeah. Thanks again. That's it for Downtown Hockeytown, brought to you by Labatt Blue Light, refreshingly Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light.